The Varro system was dying. Admiral Velthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Pride of Arquel, and watched his fleet fall apart. 3 days ago, he had commanded 87 ships. Now he had 31. The rest were debris floating in space, or worse, captured by the Vorash and converted into more bioships. He had been a fleet commander for 40 years. He had won battles across 3 sectors. He had medals and honors from 6 different species. None of that mattered now. The Vorash were winning. "Admiral," his tactical officer said nervously, "the Vorash are forming up for another attack. 2,000 bioships. They will hit us in 20 minutes. Velthar's 4 eyes closed briefly. 2,000. His 31 ships could not handle 2,000. They would be overwhelmed in minutes. "Send another distress call," he ordered. "Maximum range. Any ship that can hear us." "Yes, sir." But Velthar knew the truth. There were no reinforcements coming. The Council had no more ships to send. This was where his story ended. This was where the Third Fleet died. He thought about his family back on HFY, his mate, his 3 children. He would never see them again, sir. The sensor officer suddenly shouted, "I am detecting something strange in the asteroid belt. The readings make no sense." "Explain," Velthar said. "There is something there, but sensors cannot lock on. It is like a ghost. Or a hole in space. Whatever it is big. Maybe the size of a heavy cruiser." Velthar felt a small spark of hope. "Is it one of ours?" "Unknown, sir. The signature is completely foreign. Try to hail it." The communications officer worked at his console for several minutes. Then he looked up, surprised. "Sir, they are responding. It is a human ship. The UES Nightborn." Velthar felt confusion mix with his hope. A human ship here? Humanity barely had any real warships. They sent medical vessels and supply freighters. They were support, not combat. "Put them through," he ordered. A voice came over the speakers. Female. Calm. "This is Commander Hyojin of the UES Nightborn. We received your distress call, Admiral." "Commander," Velthar said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We appreciate your response, but this is a combat situation. If you have medical facilities, please stand by to receive wounded. But do not engage the enemy. Your ship is not equipped for this fight." There was a pause. Then the human spoke again, and Velthar heard something strange in her voice. "Amusement, maybe?" "Admiral, we are not here to run medical supplies. We are here to help you win." Velthar felt his patience snap. He was about to die, and this human was making jokes. "Commander, I do not have time for this. The Vorash will attack in 15 minutes. You need to leave this system immediately." "We are not leaving, Admiral," the human said. Her voice was harder now. "But we need you to trust us. Keep your ships exactly where they are. Do not break formation. Do not move." "Absolutely not," Velthar said. "I am in command here. You will follow my orders or leave." Another voice came over the channel. Male this time. Deeper. "Admiral Velthar, this is Captain Day 1. I understand your frustration. But my orders come directly from Earth Command. We are taking operational control of this battle." Velthar felt anger burn through him. "You have no authority here, human. This is a council operation." "Not anymore," Day 1 replied simply. "Check your command network. You should have received authorization from Counselor Tae Yang 5 minutes ago." Velthar gestured to his communications officer, who checked quickly and then nodded. The authorization was real. "This is insane," Velthar said. "You are one ship, one. The Vorash have thousands." "I know," Day 1 said. "That is why we need you to stay still. We are beginning reconnaissance now." Nightborn out. The channel closed. Velthar stood frozen for a moment. Then he turned to his tactical officer. "Can you locate that human ship?" "No, sir. Sensors still cannot lock on." For the next 10 minutes, nothing happened. The Vorash continued their approach. The Council ships waited, confused and frightened. Somewhere in the asteroid belt, the human ship did something. Lieutenant Jiwoo sat at her communications station aboard the Nightborn, her hands flying across the controls. Around her, the bridge was dark except for the glow of screens. The ship was in full stealth mode. "Drone network is deployed," she reported. "We have eyes on the entire Vorash formation." "Good," Commander Hyojin said. "Start mapping their command structure. I want to know which bioship is giving orders." On the main screen, dozens of small dots appeared. Each one was a stealth drone. Tiny machines that the Vorash could not detect. They flew silently through the enemy fleet, recording everything. Captain Day 1 studied the data. The Vorash formation looked chaotic, but it was not. There was a pattern, a structure, and at the center one bioship was larger than the others. There, he said, pointing. That is the command node. Take it out and the rest will lose coordination. Engineer Sang-ho spoke from his station in the engine room. His voice came through the intercom. Captain, power core is at full capacity. All systems ready. We can begin when you give the word. Weapons? Daewon asked. Weapons Officer Bora smiled. She was young, but she loved her job. Railguns loaded and charged, sir. EMP generators online. Point defense active. We are ready to make some noise. Navigator Dong-hyun flexed his fingers over his controls. Sir, I have plotted 17 different attack vectors. Say which one you want. Daewon took a deep breath. This was it. The moment humanity stopped hiding. All crew, this is the captain, he said. We are about to show the galaxy what we can do. Remember your training. Trust your systems. And most importantly, trust each other. Humanity does not lose, he turned to Dong-hyun. Take us in. Attack Vector 7. Full speed. Yes, sir. The Nightborn moved. One moment, Admiral Velthar was watching his sensors, seeing nothing but empty space. The next moment, a massive ship appeared right in the middle of the Vorash formation. It was enormous, twice the size of his flagship. Its hull was dark, almost black, covered in angles that seemed designed to absorb sensor waves. Weapons ports covered every surface. By the ancestors, Velthar whispered. The Vorash reacted immediately. 1,000 bioships turned toward the new threat. They fired organic weapons that could melt through armor. They launched living missiles that could burrow into a ship's hull. None of them reached the Nightborn. The human ship's point defense system lit up space. Thousands of small lasers fired continuously, destroying every incoming projectile. The Vorash weapons simply vanished before they could hit. Then the Nightborn fired back. Railguns spoke with thunder that could not be heard in space, but could be felt through every ship's hull. Metal slugs, each one the size of a small car, screamed through space at impossible speeds. They hit Vorash bioships and punched straight through them. One shot, one kill. The slugs did not stop. They went through one bioship and hit the one behind it. Bora worked her controls like a musician playing an instrument. She fired again and again, never missing. Each shot was placed perfectly. Switching to EMP, she said calmly. Blue waves of energy pulsed from the Nightborn. They washed over the Vorash bioships like water. The Vorash used organic technology, but they still needed electrical signals to function. The EMP disrupted everything. Bioships began to drift, their systems failing. Commander Hyejin opened a channel to the Council fleet. All Council ships, the enemy is disabled in sectors 7 through 12. Attack now while they cannot fight back. Velthar could not believe what he was seeing. In less than 3 minutes, the human ship had destroyed 40 Vorash bioships and disabled 100 more. All ships, he ordered, his voice shaking. Attack, focus fire on the disabled targets. The Council fleet came alive. 31 ships opened fire together. They destroyed the helpless Vorash bioships easily, but the battle was not over. The Vorash were adapting. They pulled back, reforming their lines. More bioships poured in from deeper in the system. Aboard the Nightborn, Daewon watched the tactical display. The Vorash had stopped underestimating them. Now the real fight would begin. Dong-hyun, he said quietly, take us to the command node. Full acceleration. They will try to swarm us, sir, Hyejin warned. Daewon nodded. I know. Let them try. The Nightborn turned and accelerated toward the heart of the Vorash fleet. 1,000 bioships moved to intercept. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The stars were dying and nobody seemed to care anymore. Captain Daewon stood on the bridge of the UES Nightborn, watching the darkness outside his window. Somewhere out there, 12 alien worlds were burning. The Vorash swarm had taken them in less than a week. Millions dead. Billions more would follow if the war continued like this. He had seen the reports. The Galactic Council was losing. Badly. For 17 years, the Council had fought the Vorash. 17 long years of death and destruction. The Council was an alliance of 12 different alien species, each one older and supposedly wiser than humanity. They had better technology, they said. Better ships. Better tactics. They had been traveling the stars for thousands of years while humans were still learning to walk upright. And yet, they were losing. Daewon turned away from the window. His reflection stared back at him from the dark glass. He looked tired. He felt tired. But there was work to do, Commander Hee-jin, he said quietly. Status report. Hee-jin looked up from her console. She was his second in command, sharp and quick-thinking. Right now she looked as worried as he felt. The Crimson Nebula battle was a disaster, sir, she said. The Council lost 43 ships. The Vorash lost maybe 12. The alien commanders are calling for reinforcements, but there are no reinforcements to send. Day One nodded slowly. He had expected this. The Council fought the old way. They lined up their ships in neat formations. They followed rules of engagement written centuries ago. They treated war like a gentleman's game. The Vorash did not play games. They swarmed. They adapted. They killed everything in their path. What about our suggestions? Daewon asked. Did Admiral Velthar respond? Hee-jin shook her head. He dismissed them. He said humans are too young to understand real warfare. He said we should leave strategy to the experienced species. Daewon felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger would not help. It never did. The door to the bridge opened. Ambassador Taeyang walked in, and he did not look happy. The ambassador was usually calm and diplomatic. Today his face was hard, Captain, Taeyang said. I just returned from the council meeting. It was worse than we thought. How bad? They have 3 months, Taeyang replied. Maybe 4 if they are lucky. The Vorash are preparing a massive push toward the core worlds. Once those fall, the council is finished. Hee-jin stood up from her station. Did you tell them about our plans? I tried, Taeyang said bitterly. They would not listen. Councillor Orthan said humanity should focus on medical ships and supply runs. He said combat operations should be left to the warrior species. Daewon almost smiled at that. Warrior species. The council had no idea what warriors really were. What did Admiral Kyung-soo say? He asked. Taeyang's expression changed. A small smile appeared. The Admiral sent new orders. Classified orders. The Nightborn is to prepare for immediate deployment. Finally, after months of waiting, after watching thousands die while the Council ignored every suggestion, humanity was done waiting. How long do we have? Daewon asked. 2 weeks, Taeyang replied. Then we move. Daewon turned to his crew. 20 officers sat at their stations on the bridge. Behind them, throughout the massive ship, were 2,400 more. All human, all trained for this exact moment. You heard the ambassador, Daewon said. We have 2 weeks. Commander Hee-jin, begin final preparations. I want every system checked and double-checked. Engineer Sang-ho, I want the power core running at full capacity. Weapons Officer Bo-ra, start loading the special ammunition. Yes, sir, they all replied. The bridge became busy with activity. Screens lit up with data. Officers spoke quietly into their headsets. The Nightborn was waking up. Taeyang walked over to stand next to Daewon. He spoke softly so only the captain could hear. Are we doing the right thing? The ambassador asked. When the council sees what the Nightborn really is, they will be terrified. Some might even turn against us. Daewon looked out at the stars again. They are dying, Taeyang. We offered to help the right way. They refused. Now we help our way. And if they call us monsters after, then they will be alive to call us monsters, Daewon said. I can live with that. Over the next 2 weeks, the Nightborn transformed. Cargo containers were loaded with equipment the Council had never seen. Weapons that humanity had kept secret for 70 years. Technology developed in the darkness, away from alien eyes. Lieutenant Jiwoo worked in communications, setting up encrypted channels that could not be intercepted. Engineer Sang-ho spent 18 hours a day in the engine room, fine-tuning systems that pushed the laws of physics. Dr. Min Young prepared the medical bay for casualties, though she hoped there would be none. Navigator Dong-hyun practiced maneuvers that would make alien pilots sick. The Nightborn could move in ways that should not be possible for a ship its size. It could turn on a single point. It could accelerate faster than sensors could track. It could stop dead in space without crushing its crew. Weapons Officer Bo-ra was young, barely 25, but she understood her systems better than anyone. The railguns that could fire metal slugs at 15% of light speed. The EMP generators that could shut down electronic systems from 1,000 kilometers away. The point defense network that could track and destroy 1,000 incoming missiles simultaneously. And then there was the main weapon. The one they hoped they would never have to use. The antimatter projector that could cut through solid matter like a knife through water. On the 14th day, Daewon received a message from Earth. It was from Admiral Kyung-soo himself. Captain Daewon, the message said, the Council's Third Fleet is under siege in the Varo system. They are dying. They have 3 days, maybe less. The Nightborn is authorized to intervene. Show them what humanity can do. Show them why they should have listened. Good luck, Captain. Earth is watching. Daewon assembled his crew in the main hangar. All 2,400 of them stood in formation looking up at him. We all know why we are here, Daewon said. His voice echoed in the massive space. For 17 years we watched the Council fight and die. We offered to help. They refused. They called us young, inexperienced, primitive. He paused, looking at the faces below him, young and old, men and women, all of them ready. In 3 days we arrive at Varos, he continued. The Council fleet is dying there. We are going to save them, but we will not do it their way. We will not line up and die with honor. We will do it the human way. We will do whatever it takes to win. A cheer rose from the crew, not loud, not wild, just a low, determined sound that sent chills down Daewon's spine. Get to your stations, he ordered. We launch in 1 hour. 60 minutes later, the UES Nightborn detached from Earth's orbital shipyard. Its engines glowed blue-white in the darkness. It turned toward deep space and accelerated. Behind it, Earth grew smaller. Ahead, the Varos system waited. 3,000 light-years away, the Council was dying. The Nightborn would arrive in 3 days, and nothing would ever be the same. The journey had begun. The Council chamber on Astral Prime had never been so loud. Supreme Chancellor Orthan stood at the center of the circular room, trying to maintain order. Around him, representatives from 12 different species all shouted at once. Some were angry. Some were frightened. All of them wanted answers, silence. Orthan finally roared. His voice, amplified by the chamber's systems, echoed off the walls. We will discuss this like civilized beings, not like children. The room slowly quieted. Orthan was a Lidari, a species known for their wisdom and patience. But today even he was struggling to stay calm. Ambassador Tae-yang, Orthan said, his voice cold. Please explain to this council why your species has been hiding military capabilities for 70 years. Why you let us believe you were weak when you had weapons that could end this war. Ambassador Tae-yang stood slowly. He was an older human, gray-haired and calm. He had been working with the council for 30 years. He had always been polite and respectful. That was about to change. Chancellor, Tae-yang began, humanity did not hide our capabilities out of malice. We hid them because you forced us to. That is absurd, Councillor Velnak from the Sorvathi species said angrily. We welcomed you into the council. We shared our technology. You tolerated us, Tae-yang corrected. There is a difference. When we joined the council 40 years ago, we were told to be grateful. We were told to learn from our betters. Every time we suggested a new tactic or strategy, we were dismissed as too young to understand real warfare. Because you were young. Velnak shot back. Species need centuries to learn the ways of war. Tae-yang smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. And that is exactly why we stopped trying to teach you. You refused to learn from us, so we learned without you. Councillor Rian, a young human representative, stood up from her seat. She was new to the council, ambitious and direct. Let me make something very clear, Rian said. For 70 years since first contact, humanity has been preparing for interstellar war. We studied every battle you fought. We analyzed every defeat. We learned from your mistakes since you refused to learn from them yourselves. You spied on us? Another counselor demanded. You broadcasted your battles for everyone to see, Rian replied. We just paid attention. While you followed the same outdated tactics that kept getting your people killed, we developed new ones. While you built ships for honor and ceremony, we built ships to win wars. Orthan raised his hand for silence again. So you admit that you deceived us. You pretended to have only medical ships and cargo vessels while secretly building weapons of war. We did not deceive you, Tae-yang said firmly. We offered to help you fight the Vorash properly. 3 years ago, I personally submitted detailed tactical proposals to this council. Do you remember what you said, Chancellor? Orthan's face showed discomfort. You said, Tae-yang continued, that humanity should focus on support roles. You said combat operations should be left to the warrior species. You said we were too inexperienced to contribute meaningfully. The room fell silent at that. So we stopped asking for permission, Tae-yang said. We did what we had to do to survive. Because make no mistake, Chancellor, if the Vorash destroy the Council, they will come for Earth next. We were not just protecting you, we were protecting ourselves. Intelligence Officer Jay Huan stepped forward. He was a quiet man who worked for Earth's Strategic Intelligence Division. He rarely spoke in council meetings, but today he had something important to say. Chancellor Orthan, Jay Huan said, "May I present some data to the council?" Orthan nodded reluctantly. "Proceed." Jay Huan activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed star charts and battle statistics. "This is a complete analysis of the war against the Vorash," Jay Huan explained. "In 17 years, the Council has lost approximately 4,000 ships. You have defeated the Vorash in exactly 3 major battles. Your overall win rate is 12%. The Council members shifted uncomfortably. The Nightborne, Jay Huan continued, destroyed or disabled over 2,000 Vorash bioships in its first engagement. 1 ship, 1 battle. More success than your entire fleet in 17 years. We had reasons for our losses," Admiral Velthar said defensively. The Arquelian commander had arrived at Astral Prime that morning. "The Vorash have overwhelming numbers." "No," Jay Huan said bluntly. "You had poor tactics. You insist on fighting in neat formations that make you easy targets. You refuse to use stealth technology because you consider it dishonorable. You warn your enemies before attacking because of ancient traditions." He changed the holographic display to show footage from the Battle of Varos. "Humanity does not have those limitations," Jay Huan said. "We fight to win. We use every advantage. We do not care about honor when our survival is at stake." "That makes you no better than the Vorash," Velnak said with disgust. "It makes us alive," Jay Huan replied coldly, "which is more than I can say for the 40,000 Council soldiers who died following your honorable tactics." The room erupted again. Some councillors agreed with the humans. Others were horrified by their methods. Arguments broke out in a dozen languages. Ambassador Tae Yang waited for the noise to die down. Then he said something that changed everything. "We have located the Vorash home cluster." The chamber went absolutely silent. "That is impossible," Orthan said. "We have searched for their homeworld for 15 years. "You searched the wrong places," Tae Yang replied. "Our stealth probes have been operating in deep space for 5 years. Last week they found it. The Vorash breeding worlds. The source of their bioships. The heart of the swarm." Jay Huan changed the display again. It showed a cluster of stars at the edge of the galaxy. 3 stars, he explained. 17 planets. This is where the Vorash are born. This is where they build their ships. And this is where they are preparing their final offensive. "What final offensive?" Admiral Velthar demanded. "Our intelligence suggests the Vorash are gathering every ship they have," Jay Huan said. "In approximately 6 weeks, they will launch simultaneous attacks on all Council core worlds. If they succeed, the Council will cease to exist." The chamber erupted into panic. Councillors shouted questions. Some called for immediate evacuation of civilian populations. Others demanded to know why the humans had not shared this information sooner. Orthan called for order, but nobody listened. Finally, he activated an emergency silence field. The noise cut off instantly. "Ambassador Tae Yang," Orthan said, "what does humanity propose we do about this?" This was the moment Tae Yang had been waiting for. The moment when the Council would have to make a choice. "We have 2 options," Tae Yang said. "Option 1. You continue to lead this war using your methods. You wait for the Vorash to attack your homeworlds. You die with honor while protecting your traditions." He paused for effect. "Or option 2. You give operational command of the counter-offensive to humanity. Let us do what we do best. Let us end this war." "Absolutely not," Velnak said immediately. "We will not surrender command of our own fleets to a species barely out of their home system." "Then you will die," Councillor Rian said flatly. "Because your pride is more important to you than your survival." "That is not fair," Velthar protested. "None of this is fair," Rian shot back. "It is not fair that thousands of your soldiers died while you ignored our help. It is not fair that we had to watch you lose battles you could have won. It is not fair that we have to save you from your own stupidity. But here we are." Captain Daewon had been standing quietly at the back of the chamber. Now he walked forward. Every eye turned to him. This was the man who had commanded the Nightborne, the man who had destroyed the Vorash fleet at Varos. "Councillors," Daewon said calmly, "I understand your pride. I understand that giving command to a younger species feels wrong. But ask yourselves this: what do you value more? Your pride or the lives of your people? He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each counselor. Give us command, Day One continued. Give us 6 weeks. If we fail, you can return to doing things your way. But if we succeed, this war ends. The Vorash threat ends. Your people get to go home. The chamber was silent as the council considered this. Finally, Supreme Chancellor Orthan spoke. I call for a vote. All in favor of granting temporary operational command to the human fleet? Hands raised slowly around the chamber. Not all of them. Some counselors refused out of pride or fear. But enough voted yes. The motion passes, Orthan said heavily. May the ancestors forgive us. Daewon nodded once. Admiral Kyung-soo will arrive tomorrow to take command. We will begin planning immediately. As the council chamber emptied, Tae-yang walked beside Daewon. They will never forgive us for this, Tae-yang said quietly. Even if we win, they will fear us. Hate us, maybe. Daewon looked at the stars through the chamber's transparent ceiling. I know, he said, but they will be alive to hate us. That has to be enough. Across human space, a message went out on encrypted channels. 47 warships of the United Earth Space Fleet received their orders. Prepare for the final battle. The war was about to end. The Vorash came like a storm. Navigator Dong-hyun watched his screens as 1,000 bioships converged on the Nightborn's position. His hands moved across the controls without hesitation. He had trained for this moment his entire adult life. Brace for evasive maneuvers, he announced calmly. The Nightborn twisted in space. It should not have been possible. A ship that large should not have been able to move like that. But human engineering did not care about what should be possible. Vorash weapons fire filled the space where the Nightborn had been a second before. The human ship was already somewhere else. Dong-hyun smiled. They are too slow. In the engine room, engineer Sang-ho watched his displays with intense focus. The power core was running at 105% capacity. That should have been dangerous. The alien species would have said it was insane. But human technology was built different. It was built to be pushed beyond its limits. Redirecting power to forward shields, Sang-ho said into his comm. Captain, you have full acceleration available. On the bridge, Captain Daewon stood at the center of organized chaos. Every officer was working, calling out status reports, making split-second decisions. This was what they had trained for. This was what humanity did best. Distance to the command node? Daewon asked. 1,500 kilometers, Commander Hee-jin replied. The Vorash are forming a wall to block us. Daewon studied the tactical display. The enemy was learning. They had seen what the Nightborn could do from a distance. Now they wanted to force close combat where numbers mattered more. Weapons Officer Bora, Daewon said. Clear us a path. Bora's fingers danced across her controls. She had been waiting for this. Firing, she said. The Nightborn's railguns spoke again. Not the careful, precise shots from before. This time, Bora fired in a continuous stream. The railguns had been built with one purpose, to punch through anything in their way. Metal slugs screamed through space at 15% of light speed. When they hit Vorash bioships, the ship simply exploded. The kinetic energy was too much. Flesh and bone, no matter how tough, could not stop that much force. A path opened through the enemy formation. It was filled with debris and dying bioships. Punch it, Daewon ordered. Dong-hyun pushed the engines to full power. The Nightborn shot forward like a bullet. In 3 seconds, it crossed 1,500 kilometers. The Vorash command node loomed ahead. It was massive, 3 times larger than any other bioship. Its surface was covered in biological weapons and armor. From this ship, the Hive Overlord Kresh commanded the entire fleet. Kresh was ancient, even by Vorash standards. He had commanded fleets for 200 years. He had destroyed 100 worlds. He had never lost a battle, until today. Inside the command node, Kresh watched through his biological sensors as the human ship approached. He had heard reports of this new enemy, but he had not believed them. Humans were weak, young, unimportant. He had been wrong. All ships, Kresh commanded through the neural network that connected every Vorash bioship. Swarm formation. Overwhelm the human vessel. I want it torn apart. 3,000 bioships responded. They came from every direction, surrounding the Nightborn in a sphere of living flesh and weapons. On the Nightborn, alarms began to sound. We have incoming from all sides, Hee-jin reported. Thousands of targets. We cannot shoot them all. We do not need to shoot them all, Day One replied. He turned to Sang-Ho's station. Engineer, activate Protocol Omega. There was a brief pause. Then Sang-Ho's voice came back and he sounded excited. Activating Protocol Omega, diverting all available power to the shield generators. The Nightborn's shields changed. They had been invisible before, just energy barriers that stopped weapons fire. Now they became visible. They glowed with a bright blue light that hurt to look at, and then they pushed. The shields expanded outward in a perfect sphere. They moved at incredible speed. When they hit the Vorash bioships, the ships were simply thrown backward. Some tumbled away into space. Others collided with their fellow ships. The closer ones were crushed by the force. In 10 seconds, the space around the Nightborn was clear. Admiral Velthar watched from his flagship and he could not find words. The Council's best scientists had spent centuries developing shield technology. They could stop energy weapons and physical projectiles, but they could not push. They could not be used as weapons themselves. How had humanity done this? Lieutenant Jiwoo worked frantically at her communication station. She was intercepting Vorash neural signals, learning their patterns. Commander, she said to Hyejin, I have isolated the command node's control frequency. If we can disrupt it, the entire fleet will lose coordination. Can you jam it? Hyejin asked. Better than that, Jiwoo replied with a smile. I can corrupt it. Send false commands. Make them think their leader is ordering a retreat. Hyejin turned to Daewon. Captain, if we can take out the command node and corrupt their communications simultaneously, the Vorash will collapse completely. Daewon nodded. Do it, Bora. I want that command node destroyed. Use the main weapon. Bora's smile faded. The main weapon. They had hoped not to use it. Once they did, there would be no hiding what humanity had become. But there was no choice now. Charging antimatter projector, she said quietly. The Nightborn's forward section began to glow. Energy built up inside the ship, contained by fields that pushed the laws of physics to their breaking point. This was technology that other species had theorized about but never successfully built. Humanity had built it, and now they would use it. Kresh felt something wrong. His sensors detected an energy buildup from the human ship, but the readings made no sense. The power levels were impossible. Nothing could generate that much energy. All ships scatter, he commanded. Get away from that ship now. But he was too late. Firing, Bora said. The antimatter projector released its payload. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the Nightborn. It was not a laser. It was not a particle beam. It was something else entirely. Where it touched matter, that matter simply ceased to exist. The beam hit the command node dead center. It punched through the biological armor like it was not even there. It went through the entire ship from front to back. And it did not stop. Behind the command node were 16 more Vorash bioships lined up perfectly. The beam went through them too. One after another they came apart. 17 capital bioships destroyed in a single shot. Kresh had time for one final thought. Humanity had been hiding. They had been waiting. And now the galaxy would pay the price for underestimating them. Then his consciousness ended. The Vorash fleet fell into chaos immediately. Without their command node, without the neural network that connected them, the bioships were just individual creatures. They panicked. Some tried to flee. Others attacked each other by mistake. Lieutenant Jiwoo struck at that moment. She sent her corrupted signal through the Vorash communications, and suddenly every bioship heard the same message in their minds. Retreat. Fall back. We cannot win. The Vorash broke and ran. 3,000 bioships turned away from the battle and fled into deep space at maximum speed. They left behind their dead and damaged. They left behind their supplies and support ships. They just ran. The Council fleet sat silent, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Admiral Velthar finally found his voice. Human ship Nightborn, this is Admiral Velthar. What are you? Captain Daewon's voice came back, calm and measured. We are what humanity becomes when you do not listen, Admiral. We are what happens when you force us to save you without your permission. But the antimatter weapon, Velthar said, that technology is theoretical, impossible to control. It was theoretical, Daewon replied. Humanity spent 70 years making it real. While you dismissed us as primitive, we learned. While you ignored our suggestions, we built weapons. While you died following ancient rules, we prepared for war the human way. Velthar felt something cold in his chest. Fear. For the first time in his long career, he was genuinely afraid of an ally. The council will want to know about this, he said carefully. About what your ship can do. I know, Daewon said. We are sending full battle recordings to every council world right now. Let them see. Let them all see what humanity kept hidden. The channel closed. Across the galaxy, on 100 different worlds, aliens watched the recordings of the Battle of Varos. They watched one human ship destroy thousands of Vorash bioships. They watched weapons that should not exist. They watched the stars themselves seem to fear the Nightborn. By morning, every species in the council knew the truth. Humanity had not been helpless. They had been waiting, and now everyone would have to deal with the consequences. The Vorash home cluster sat at the edge of the galaxy, where stars were few and darkness was everywhere. 3 suns burned here, their light harsh and red. Around them, 17 worlds orbited. On these worlds, the Vorash had bred and built for 1,000 years. This was where their swarm was born. This was the heart of their empire, and today, humanity came to destroy it. Admiral Kyung-Soo stood on the bridge of the UES Eternal Dawn, humanity's flagship. Through the windows, he could see the assembled fleet. 47 human warships hung in formation, their dark hulls almost invisible against space. Behind them, 600 council vessels waited nervously. This was the largest military fleet ever assembled, and Kyung-Soo commanded all of it. Status report, he ordered. Tactical Coordinator Soo-bin looked up from her displays. She was young, barely 23, but she had planned this entire operation. Her strategic mind was extraordinary. All human ships report ready, Admiral, Soo-bin said. Council vessels are in position. The Vorash have detected us. They are mobilizing their defense fleet. How many ships? Kyung-Soo asked. 40,000 bioships, sir. Maybe more. They are still coming. 40,000. The number should have been terrifying. A few months ago it would have been impossible odds, but that was before the Nightborn. Before the galaxy learned what humanity could do. Any second thoughts, Admiral? Captain Daewon's voice came through the comm. The Nightborn was at the front of the formation, leading the Vanguard strike force. None, Kyung-Soo replied. We end this today. All ships prepare to execute the extinction protocol. There was a pause. Even through the comm channel, Kyung-Soo could feel the hesitation from the council ships. They had been briefed on the plan. Many of them were horrified by it. All council vessels, Kyung-Soo said firmly. I understand your concerns. What we are about to do has never been attempted. It may seem extreme, but the Vorash will never stop. They will never negotiate. This is the only way to end the war. Admiral Velthar spoke up from his flagship. Admiral Kyung-Soo, are you certain about this? Once we begin, there is no going back. I am certain, Kyung-Soo said. The Vorash have killed millions. They have destroyed worlds. They will continue until we are all dead or until we stop them permanently. Today we choose to stop them. He took a deep breath. All ships engage. The fleet moved forward as one. 47 human warships and 600 council vessels, all driving toward the Vorash home cluster. The Vorash met them with everything they had. 40,000 bioships poured out of the 3 systems, forming a living wall between the attackers and their homeworlds. They came in waves, thousands at a time, ready to die protecting their breeding grounds. Contact in 30 seconds, Soo-bin announced. Vorash are forming swarm patterns. Weapons free, Kyung-Soo ordered. All human ships execute protocol extinction. Do not engage the bioships directly. Target the stars. On every human warship, weapon systems activated, but they did not target the enemy fleet. Instead, they targeted the 3 red suns that lit the Vorash home cluster. From the Nightborn, Captain Daewon watched as his crew worked with perfect precision. Commander Hyejin coordinated with the other ships. Engineer Sang-ho pushed the power systems to their absolute limits. Weapons Officer Bora carefully aimed at the first star. Firing Stellar Disruptor, Bora announced. A beam of energy different from any weapon used before lanced out from the Nightborn. It crossed the distance to the nearest star in seconds. When it hit, the star's light flickered. All across the human fleet, 47 ships fired the same weapon. 47 beams hit the 3 stars from different angles. The stars began to die. On his command throne aboard the Vorash flagship, Hive Empress Vecthara felt something impossible happening. She was ancient, over 3,000 years old. She had led the swarm through countless wars. She had never known fear until now. The stars were going dark. The light that fed her bioships, that powered their organic systems, was disappearing, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. All ships she commanded through the neural network. Ignore the fleet. Destroy the human vessels. They must be stopped. But the Vorash bioships were already weakening. Without stellar radiation, their energy reserves began to drain. Their weapons fired with less power. Their movements became sluggish. The stars are at 30% power, Subin reported. Vorash fleet is losing cohesion. Admiral Kyung-soo watched the tactical display. The Vorash were panicking now. Some tried to retreat back to their worlds. Others charged forward in desperate attacks. But there was no coordination, no strategy, just fear. All council ships, Kyung-soo ordered. Begin attack runs. Target the disorganized bioships. Do not let any escape. The council fleet surged forward. 600 ships crashed into the Vorash formation. This time the council was winning. The Vorash could not fight back effectively. Their bioships were dying, starved of the energy they needed. On the Nightborn, Daewon made a decision. Helm, take us into the cluster. We are going after the Empress. Navigator Donghyun did not hesitate. The Nightborn broke from the main formation and accelerated toward the largest Vorash breeding world. Behind it, the three stars continued to dim. The Empress's stronghold was a massive biological construct, part ship and part fortress. It sat in orbit around the central breeding world, surrounded by the last elite bioships of the swarm. They are protecting her, Commander Hyejin observed. We will have to fight through them. Then we fight, Daewon said simply. All weapons, continuous fire. We do not stop until we reach that stronghold. The Nightborn dove into the defensive formation. Its weapons spoke with constant thunder. Railguns destroyed bioships by the dozens. EMP pulses disabled entire squadrons. The point defense system created a sphere of death around the ship, but the Vorash fought desperately. They knew this was their last stand. They threw everything at the human ship. The Nightborn's shields flared under the assault. Hull plates buckled. Systems began to fail. Shields at 40%, Engineer Sang-ho reported, his voice strained. I can give you 5 more minutes, maybe. That is all we need, Daewon replied. Bora, I need a shot on that stronghold, 1 shot. Make it count. Weapons Officer Bora worked her controls with steady hands. Even as the ship shook around her, even as alarms blared, she remained focused. She was born for this moment. The targeting solution appeared on her screen. It was a difficult shot. The stronghold was protected by layers of biological armor. But there was one weak point. One place where the structure connected to the breeding world's atmosphere. I have the shot, Bora said quietly. Fire, Daewon ordered. The Nightborn's main weapon. The antimatter projector fired one last time. The beam crossed the distance in an instant. It hit the weak point perfectly. The Hive Empress's stronghold came apart. The beam punched through the structure and continued down into the breeding world below. Secondary explosions rippled across the surface. Vekathara had one final moment of consciousness. She felt the neural network that connected all Vorash everywhere suddenly go silent. She felt her swarm, her children, all dying at once. Then she felt nothing at all. Across the home cluster, across the entire galaxy, every Vorash bioship stopped moving. Without the Hive Empress, without the neural network, they were just empty shells. The swarm was dead. The 3 stars of the Vorash home cluster went completely dark. No light remained. Just cold, dead suns floating in space. Admiral Kyung-soo stood on his bridge watching the tactical display go quiet. The battle was over. After 17 years, the war had ended. All ships cease fire, he ordered. His voice was tired. Begin search and rescue operations. Help anyone who needs it. Vorash or Council, it does not matter now. But Kyung-soo felt no joy in the victory. He looked at the dead stars and knew what this meant. Humanity had just demonstrated the power to kill suns, to extinguish light itself. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. 5 years passed. Captain Daewon, now Admiral Daewon, stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest orbital station. Below him, the planet turned slowly. Above him, stars shone peacefully. The Vorash were gone. The war was over. The galaxy was safe, but Daewon felt no peace. He thought about the Council. They were grateful, yes. They had survived because of humanity. But they also feared what humanity had become. Human warships now patrolled the borders of Council space. Not because the council wanted them there, but because they were afraid to say no. Other species whispered when humans passed. They called humanity the Star Killers, the ones who ended the light. They respected human strength, but they did not trust it. Ambassador Tai Yang joined him at the window. Having second thoughts, Tai Yang asked. Every day, Day One admitted. We saved them. We ended the war. But we also showed them what we are truly capable of. Now they fear us. Maybe they are right to fear us. Perhaps, Tai Yang said, but they are alive to fear us. Every person on those council worlds, every child born after the war, they exist because we did what had to be done. And the price? Day One asked. Political isolation? Being seen as the galaxy's monster? That is the price of survival, Tai Yang said. We can live with being feared. We cannot live with being dead. Below them, a ship undocked from the station. The UES Nightborne, repaired and upgraded, began its patrol route.